Sounds good.
So thank you guys for coming to the LLT presentation. Close the door really quick so we can get loud. Just wanted to introduce to you Rachel Conkler from the Washington State Bar Association.
Hi.
And we've got two LLTs here as well. So we're going to have Rachel take it from here and then introduce everyone else.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you all for coming and taking some time out of your day. There is some pizza if you want to have a bite to eat while I present. And at the front table over here, there's some flyers. Take those, take as many as you'd like. And we've got pens and a sign-in sheet if you want us to contact you. We'll check in with you about the program and give you periodic updates and things like that. So my name's Rachel Conkler. I'm here from the Washington State Bar Association. And here with me today, I have Chris Downing and Christy Carpenter. And they are two real LLTs. They're going to help me answer any questions that you guys have later on. So I'm going to start first with a really awesome video that the Bar Association has put together about the legal technician license. I think this is going to help give you a good introduction to what I'm going to talk about today.
For a very long time, the Supreme Court of Washington has been aware that there is a vast unmet need for legal services. Around 70% of the people who come into court with a domestic relations issue come in without any advice of counsel and certainly not being represented when they come into the courtroom. What we decided to do was to open a whole new category of legal service providers. These are the LLTs.
This is the first of its kind in the country and actually probably in the world. We think it's a pretty unique opportunity as an alternative for people who may not otherwise want to go to law school. The cost of an education for a LLT is less than $15,000. which is much more accessible for people who don't want to obtain a full college education or law degree. It's a 3-year education path, 2 years in the community college. A person seeking to become a LLT can do so without ever leaving their home. They can take the practice area education through the University of Washington long-distance learning. They can have their own business, and additionally, they can own a business together with a lawyer or other LLTs.
The legal technician license has only been in effect since 2015. I was the second person to earn the license. I'm so happy I followed this path. It's a very gratifying career. My professional background was as a paralegal for 25 years. Now that I am in the role of a legal technician, I'm much more out in the community. I'm interacting directly with court staff, with other attorneys, and with clients. Trained, competent legal services at an affordable rate is really the essence of what legal technicians do.
The best way I describe it to clients is I'm a coach. I can tell you how your case is going to go. I can walk you through it. I can help you fill out forms. What advice would I give people that are interested in being a legal technician? Love the law. I love what I do. I absolutely adore the law. Make sure that you love to analyze things, you love to write, you love to communicate with people, that you want to help people.
It takes a lot of heart and compassion. Obviously, you're seeing people in dire situations in their lives. So if you're drawn to the helping professions, it's a wonderful career path for that.
We think the LLTs are going to be one way to bridge that gap between the unmet need and the need that they have for justice. You, if you're considering this program, could be that person to help others in your community navigate the legal system.
Okay, so the limited license legal technician, the license itself, the impetus behind it was a civil legal needs study in 2003 that revealed a glaring unmet need for legal services amongst those of moderate means in Washington. And so how we often define moderate means is people who make too much money to qualify for legal aid, but they don't exactly make enough money to afford an attorney. So the LLT license was really designed to help those people that are right in the middle there. On June 15, 2012, the Washington Supreme Court issued an order adopting the LLT rule, stating we have a duty to ensure the public can access affordable legal and law-related services and that they are not left to fall prey to the perils of the unregulated marketplace. So the first initial practice area that was authorized is family law, and currently that is the only practice area that LLTs are allowed to practice in, although more are being investigated for the future. And this practice area was approved by the Supreme Court in March of 2013. So family law for LLTs include some of the following, but which are subject to some limitations based on the court rule. They can help with divorce and dissolution, parenting and support, parentage or paternity, child support modification, parenting plan modification, domestic violence protection orders, committed intimate relationships only as they pertain to parenting and support issues, non-parental and third-party custody, and other protection or restraining orders arising from the family law matter. And this is another long list of some of the things that they can do. They can inform clients of the applicable procedures and anticipated course of legal proceedings, advise clients of necessary documents and explain their relevance, select, complete, file, and serve approved and lawyer-prepared forms and advise of their significance, review documents and exhibits from the opposing side and explain them to the client, communicate and negotiate with the opposing party or counsel regarding procedural matters, negotiate a client's legal rights with the client's written consent, defining the parameters of the negotiation. Some other things that they can do is they can prepare paperwork and accompany and assist clients in alternative dispute resolution proceedings, accompany, assist, and confer with clients at depositions, present to a court the following: agreed orders, uncontested orders, default orders, and accompanying documents, and accompany, assist, and confer with clients at court and respond to direct questions from the court regarding factual and procedural issues only. And this is limited to specific types of hearings. And some of these things are recent enhancements to the rule, the court rule, that just happened very recently this June. So some of the scope limitations: LLTs are not allowed unless permitted by General Rule 24 to represent a client in court, administrative, or formal dispute resolution proceedings, conduct or defend a deposition, initiate or respond to an appeal or an appellate court. And the important distinction to note here is that they can assist their clients in court, but they themselves cannot appear in court. They can't make legal argument. So some of the employment options for LLTs: they can own an independent LLT firm, they can own a law firm with an attorney, they can work in a law firm, or they can work for a legal service provider. And Chris and Christy want to talk a little bit about exactly what they do. I think that will be really helpful. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi everybody, my name is Christy Carpenter and I'm a LLT. A little bit about my background: I was a paralegal for 23 years before I opened up my own law firm. I have a solo practice in Tacoma. I did primarily family law, so I knew what I was doing and I jumped right on into it and opened up my own firm. I worked for a firm, a high-end firm that had very wealthy clients, and I felt like I wanted to see the other end of that and help the people who are struggling getting legal advice and who can't afford a $10,000 retainer. I take $500 to start a case, which is, yeah. But if you have enough clients doing that, then you can make a living out of it. What else? I guess that's the background. Did you want to talk about the kind of firm that you're in?
Yeah, I'm Chris Downing. I also am a LLT. I worked as a paralegal for 27 years before becoming a LLT. I did not work in family law. I worked in other areas of law. So the family law arena is a little bit new to me jumping in. So I call people like Christy a lot when I have questions. But I think the LLT path, it does provide a little more flexibility, like she was talking about with her fees. We do the same thing, and we offer. I'm actually in a firm with two other LLTs. We're in the Tacoma area, and we're able to offer lower rate to get in the door, set up payment plans, things like that. We have a little more flexibility, I think, with the way that we can structure our payment programs and meet people's needs that just can't get there with legal retainers.
And as you saw from the video, Priscilla was one of the LLLTs in the video, and she mentioned that it is extremely gratifying, and I would definitely agree with her. It's really amazing to be able to help people who just, a lawyer would hardly let them walk in the door. So.
And I'll piggyback on that too, because I will say I was not super excited about the area of family law when this came out, and I did it because that was the area that was being offered, and I've been surprised at how gratifying it is, and I actually really do like it. And people are in a pretty vulnerable place when they come in, and they're really needing help, and it's confusing. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot at stake for them, so it feels good to help.
Okay, thank you, Chris and Christy. So how do you become a LLLT? The first component is education. So this license requires an associate's degree or higher, in addition to the core education, which is 45 credit hours in paralegal studies. And that is something that you can take here at Tacoma Community College if you're not already enrolled in that pathway. Another option is there is a limited time waiver for paralegals who have at least 10 years of experience. They can waive into the program as long as they've taken one of 3 different exams. And they don't have to take the core education or have an associate's degree. And then once you've completed either that core education in paralegal studies or gotten the waiver, then you would enroll in the practice area education classes. And those are family law courses that are taught over 3 quarters, 15 credits total. The next component is the examinations. There's the Paralegal Core Competency Exam, also known as the PCCE, and that is required to sit for the Bar Association's LLLT exam. And it's administered by an outside association. You would also need to take and pass the Professional Responsibility Exam and Practice Area Exam. And then lastly, there's the work experience requirement. To become a LLLT, you need 3,000 hours of substantive law-related work experience. So this needs to be substantive, working as a paralegal or a legal assistant. Clerical, administrative-only duties wouldn't count towards that. And your work needs to be supervised by a licensed lawyer. And the good thing about this work experience requirement is that this doesn't need to be done before you take the LLLT exam. There is actually a window within which you can complete those after you've passed the exam. It's about 3 years. So the core curriculum for the LLLT license is what would be taught here at Tacoma Community College. So the classes that are in teal up on the screen, those are prerequisites to enroll in the practice area courses. So those are Intro to Law and Legal Process, Civil Procedure, Legal Research, Writing and Analysis, Professional Responsibility and Ethics, and Interviewing and Investigation Techniques. And then there's 2 that are not prerequisites to enroll in the family law courses, but they are required at some point. So that's Contracts and Law Office Procedures and Technology. And if you're interested in enrolling in the practice area courses one day, basically what we would look for is that you've taken those prerequisite classes. We want to see a transcript to show proof of that. Just an important note, approval for enrollment in the practice area classes does not guarantee that your education requirements have been fulfilled. Having a paralegal degree also does not guarantee that you've taken all of the required classes. Carefully compare your transcript to the list of required classes and confirm that all requirements have been fulfilled. So those family law courses, also known as the practice area education courses, it's 5 credits of basic domestic relations subjects and 10 credits in advanced and Washington-specific domestic relations subjects. And the core prerequisites, which we just discussed. And how to enroll. Typically the enrollment applications open up in the fall, but that can vary depending on the year. So in order to be approved for enrollment, you need to complete those core prerequisites or have the approved waiver. and you submit your enrollment application or your waiver application to the Bar Association. And something that we're always happy to do if you're not quite there yet, but you want to just kind of check in and see if you're on track, you can always contact us and we can do sort of an unofficial transcript review to see where you're at, what you still need to take, and how that path is looking for you. And some general tips for success. I really suggest familiarizing yourself with the admission and practice rules that apply to the LLLT license. So that's APR 3, 4, 5, and 28. APR 28 is all about the LLLT license, and 3, 4, and 5 are more about the admissions requirements, how you get admitted to the Bar Association. I also suggest going to our website at www.wsba.org and explore our LLLT pages, especially the application for the exam, the application for the family law classes, and the instructions for applying for those. Just, it might be a little early, but it's good to get a head start and become really familiar with what they're going to be looking for. And you can contact us anytime. You can always give us a call at the number up on the screen, or you can email us at LLLT@wsba.org. And we're happy to answer any questions that you have about the program. If you want to talk about requirements or next steps, we're always available. So that's that. I will now move over to questions if anyone has them. And I also have some questions that were previously submitted. I think I'll start and go over those first and see if we can answer anything. So this is a question I received through Jennifer. Do you foresee paralegals becoming recognized by the ABA in other areas of the law in addition to family law? And if so, is there anything in the works presently? So I just want to clarify that we're talking about LLLTs here, not paralegals. And LLLTs are licensed by the Washington Supreme Court and administered by the Washington State Bar Association. And I do know that the LLLT board is currently working on investigating and developing new practice areas. So currently they've been investigating consumer, money, and debt as a potential new practice area. The second question that I got was, how hard is the exam to become LLLT certified, and what kind of questions are on the exam? So I can say the exam is rigorous. I can't really get into the content of what's on the exam, of course. But we do have study guides available on our website. We have a study guide for the family law exam, which is the practice area exam. And we have a study guide for the professional responsibility exam that should be really helpful. And there's some sample questions on there as well. So the next question I received, what are the advantages to obtaining an LLLT? Can it be done in the evenings if working full-time at my firm? And I'm assuming here that this question is asking what are the advantages to becoming a LLLT? Maybe if one of our LLLTs want to talk about that a little bit and how it was like for you to get your requirements done.
Well, I had a lot of experience already, so I entered in on the waiver. So I didn't have to take the prerequisite classes that I assume all of you are taking now. The exam, as Rachel said, is extremely rigorous. You're going to need to study, just like a lawyer studies for a bar exam. What else? Work experience. At the time when I applied, I had taken a couple of years off, and so I couldn't get my license right away, and so I had to work for, I think, a year and a half to get my 3,000 hours. So 3,000 hours is equivalent to a year and a half full-time work. There are a lot of internships available, volunteer opportunities where lawyers who administer those programs can sign off on your hours if you don't happen to work for a law firm. Anything else to add?
I don't think so. I also wavered in. I agree that the exam it's tough, but it's doable. Obviously, people do it. The guidelines that Rachel talked about are a great place to start. Going back, if I were to do it differently, I would have reviewed all of those prior to going through the year-long family law classes and gotten really familiar with what was on there, just to kind of front-end that a little bit when I was studying. Yeah, the 3,000 hours, like I said, I did not work in the family law field before that. That would be another recommendation I might throw out, is to, if you're not already in a firm and you're looking to get those hours, at least, get some of those hours in that field, I think would have been helpful for me. So, yeah, I guess.
I have one more thing to add. And if you are not, we absolutely don't want to get into family law, I would just suggest you continue on your path and kind of hold steady, because I hope, down the road there are going to be other areas that the Supreme Court will hopefully approve of.
Well, what's the timeline looking like on deciding to approve or not approve consumer debt and funding till that?
There isn't a timeline right now.
Gotcha.
Right. It's still in the investigation and development process, and once that's done, it needs to be approved by the board, the LLLT board, and the Supreme Court. So it can be a bit lengthy of a process.
It's been a couple already.
Yeah, give or take.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
How does the Bar Association think an area of law to investigate for LLLTs?
Well, family law was identified as the first one because it revealed the highest unmet civil legal need. There are lots of pro se clients, or pro se litigants, I should say, in family law court. That's what I know. Do you have anything further?
Yeah. I serve on the LLLT board at the State Bar, and I was on the practice area subcommittee, so I can sort of get into that. We look at, first of all, is there an unmet civil legal need? And we refer to research done. That's, for example, the 2003 civil legal needs study. I know that we surveyed some of the volunteer clinics throughout the state to determine where they serve the most clients in what areas. So the first thing is identifying an unmet need. Another factor is whether that particular practice area could be taught within the education scheme that's been developed. And then third, whether that is going to be, I wouldn't say lucrative, it's going to be an area in which a LLLT could make a living. Meaning there aren't going to be completely poor clients that can't afford absolutely anything. There may be clients who have a little bit of money, such as with family law.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a lot of questions. So I hope you're prepared. Can you turn your chair around?
Sure, we better turn around here.
Okay. How often do you have to refer your clients to a lawyer?
I would say the majority of the time, we do not. There are a lot of attorneys that we will partner with that will they'll take things they'll help us out in the areas that we can't help out in. So we might be able to walk a client through 80%, and then there might be 20% of their case that we're not able to help them with. And we'll partner with an attorney who will help them just in that area. So it still saves them a lot of money. We do a lot of prep work for the attorneys. When we hand things over to them, they handle that portion of it, and then the client will come back to us. So
about 80% for normal practice.
As far as like having to say we absolutely cannot take your case, any part of your case, I would say it's way less than that. Like maybe, I would say less than 5% if even,
Yeah, I think in general, there's always some aspect of a client's case that we can handle. I'll give you an example where I'm
referring a client to a particular hearing that's not covered under the APR rule that we cannot go and assist our clients with. It's a motion to enforce what's called a CR2A agreement. And under the rule, we can't stand with our client and help them in that hearing. And so I, again, like Chris's firm, I work with some attorneys who will take on what's called an unbundled service, where in this case it's just appearing at a hearing. I've done all the paperwork required, and I can prep the attorney, give the attorney the talking points. Pretty much they just need to review what I've done and show up at the hearing. And that saves the client a lot of money.
Right.
If it's a lawyer that charges $300 an hour, that could conceivably be maybe $1,000 for preparing for the hearing and showing up. Which, if an attorney took that all the way through for that particular motion, I'd say it'd probably be at least $5,000.
Okay, and then another weird question on that, kind of. So you can go to the court, you can coach, the lady said coach, you can coach them, this is what's going to happen, this is what you do, especially if it's totally pro se, right? Do you get to go in the courtroom, or you have to be outside though, and then
So if it's for,
I don't know how you get to do that.
If it's for a hearing that we are permitted to assist and confer with our client, then we can actually go and stand with the client at the podium. We can't give any legal argument to the commissioner or the judge, but we definitely can, talk with our client. And I have little flashcards that I give them if, object to this.
See, I was thinking that, so that's okay.
I can't do it myself, but yes, coaching. It's
little
coaching.
prompting or whatever, because I'm just imagining these are people that are already bamboozled.
Absolutely.
And they kind of need those guidelines.
Right, and what I do is I'll prepare talking points or a complete statement for my client to read, depending on what their level of comfort is. If they're comfortable going with talking points and speaking on their own, then I'll just do those. Otherwise, I'll just have them say, I'm going to read a statement,
And a lot of it is having documents ready for them, having their notebook, having, the judge is asking them questions, have you served the other side? Have you done this? They're asking them for proof, they're asking for proposed orders, and just being able to work through that with them while they're there and kind of support them in that.
So in those types of hearings, if the judge or commissioner has a question about something procedural or factual, like how you calculated something in child support, or when was the other party served, they can ask the LLLT. In the other types of hearings where we are not permitted to confer and assist with a client, we can definitely be in the courtroom. We can sit with the audience, but we can't be up there with the client. And I coached early on. I coached a client to ask if they could take a break and talk with me, and the commissioner wouldn't let them. So I don't think they like that.
Well, and one of the areas that I've talked to judges in that they appreciate having somebody there with the client is they get to the point of proposed orders. And a judge will just rattle off, here's what my order is. And, a pro se client doesn't really know what to do with that information. So it's having somebody there that can take all of that down, go out, sit in the hallway, prepare a proposed order, and take it back into the judge so that it's all on the record. And, for them, I had a judge tell me, I'm tired of writing my own orders.
And the client isn't going to think I have to write all this down while I'm standing up there shaking and I'm completely frazzled. So, we can sit back there and we'll take notes on everything. Okay. They'll release the case and we'll write up the order, like Chris said, out in the hallway, and come back in and get it entered.
I have way more Why is it not promoted more? Why is it not? I mean, for the cost of it, why is there not a scholarship specifically geared toward it? Why do we have 29 counties where there are no LLLTs? I mean, seriously, out of the 30, there's 10, only 10 counties that have triple LTs in them. And they're, what, 7 of them are in Tacoma, I think, by itself. So you don't really have them reaching the people who really need to be reached, which is way in the heck out there.
We are trying. Those of us who are practicing triple LTs, we're out here doing things like this all the time. We're in volunteer clinics. I mean, I'd say the vast majority of us are getting out there and, letting
You need
people
like a street team,
There's,
it's like exciting to
and I know
send them
our
out.
association is doing what they can. They have a communications director who's been working on things. They're out in schools, promoting this as a new profession. It was just listed with the
Moderate means program.
Oh, moderate means. We are now on the moderate
Officially
means.
in.
We are officially in. So when clients call the moderate means program at the bar, legal technicians are now an option. And then what I was referring to is the listing on the employment.
On Voice.
We're actually a profession listed with the state employment.
So when we look it up on the net or something.
And I think they are working on scholarships and things, are they not?
The reason why a scholarship is not offered is because technically the program through the practice area program through University of Washington is considered continuing education, and financial aid is not offered for that. But I think that is
It was a private scholarship.
Yeah, that's FAFSA.
I think you were asking about private
Right.
scholarships.
Yeah, that was actually another question that I received prior to the presentation, and I did want to address that one. So the question was, yes, why do you allow only one college, UW, to complete the final school part of the Triple LT program and how other schools like to call it community college, especially if the school doesn't allow financial aid to be used towards the program? How is this not a monopoly? So other colleges are actually welcome to teach the family law curriculum, but really we just kind of need them to step up. We need people to want to teach it and to ask to teach it, essentially.
Well, okay, so I came from LCC, Lower Columbia College. And the president there, Chris Bailey, at one point in time, he worked in law. But before the thing happened in 08, this is like before that, after 10 years before, he said, like Clark College had a paralegal program and other ones were having it, and now everybody doesn't have it because like everybody just stopped or went away. I don't understand what happened economically, it was before my time, but I know he said that it just like stopped, and now there's this huge gap and a huge need, and they're not, I mean, there's not that many that can fulfill it, I drive from Longview to come here.
Right, and then
So, thank goodness the UOW is online. That's great. I mean, please, because if you can't pay me to go to Seattle, then I'll have to do that, you know what I'm saying?
Right, and then in terms of the question about financial aid, it is true that currently and in the past, the students of the family law courses weren't eligible for financial aid because it does fall under the continuing education program. But the board is currently exploring having these courses move to another college, potentially at the community college level.
Yeah. How are they doing that in Portland? Portland Community College, because that's now across state lines when it's all supposed to be Washington.
Well, they can teach the education, but then students would be licensed in Washington State if they would want to become a triple LT. So they would be licensed here in Washington, but they could take the education in Portland.
And Oregon is actually exploring this profession.
Well, yeah, I know a lot of them have variations of it, like Utah has like the parade.
Utah's the only one that's actually practicing.
I think Colorado's
Everybody
looking
else
at it, Minnesota's looking at it, there are several other states that are.
Washington
It's
has
going.
its
It can be likened to how nurse practitioners.
Oh, yeah, that's how I sell it. And that's how I'm selling it. That's the only way people get what I'm saying, if I say that.
But if
I
you
can
look
do
at how
everything
long
but do
it took
surgery.
from the beginning of that until how comfortable people are with nurse practitioners.
Yeah, right.
It took a while, so. I don't think it'll take that long because people are already getting very comfortable.
Can you advertise wherever you want? within limits. The reason I'm asking is the whole point of the triple LTs was to bridge a gap between financial means and affordability. I have a friend going through a court case. One party has an attorney, one part doesn't. It's family law, and it's nasty. It's nasty over things that don't need to be nasty just because it's fun, I guess. I don't know. But every time I go in to help, hold a hand, or just be there, and I go into the clerk of courts, at least in Pierce County, they have the most phenomenal staff there that will do whatever they can. They will hold your hand. They never get angry. They never lose their cool.
They're great there.
They're great. And one of the guys even said, I try to learn everything I can without practicing law to help people that they just don't know. If there was a sign in there that said ABC, triple T, here's an explanation of it, you know how many people would be, or if they were able to say, you know what, there's this thing called a triple T.
Yes, they should be saying that.
Do you want to talk about the bench card that's being drafted?
Yeah. So another subcommittee at the state, on the legal technician board is the family law work group. And I'm also on that one. And we are drafting what's called a bench card, and that's for judicial officers to refer to when they have questions about the scope of practice for legal technicians. And it's very informative, and hopefully that getting that out statewide could make a difference, because I've been in courtrooms many times when I've just been in back observing. I've already been with my client, and they'll say, take this to the family law facilitator, and that's the end of it. They don't say, have you tried triple LT? And I don't know that they can. Or they're just not used to it, because I don't know if they say, can you hire a lawyer? Have you? It should be a suggestion, and possibly the bench card getting out again statewide will inform them enough that they might offer this as an alternative to the family law facilitator's office. But I can say in my personal interactions with trying to get the word out within, I guess, the family law facilitator's office, maybe the clerk's office, people within the court, they may not necessarily be receptive to doing that. I think eventually it's going to happen, but I think part of it might be a turf thing. I don't know.
So you feel like there's resistance to what the triple LT is?
Well, there's definitely resistance within the attorney community. It's since the beginning, it's gotten much better. Since we've been, as triple LTs, we're interacting with attorneys, we're giving them business, we're getting business referred by them. It's getting much better, but initially it was,
I read those letters to the Supreme Court. Some of those people obviously had a grudge.
And there are other attorneys
really
that
read what all of the triple
Understand why
LT
it
were
can't
about.
be added. I mean, sitting in the courtroom, and we've had assignments where we need to sit in the courtroom. I haven't sat in the ex parte courtroom because I wanted to see the people that didn't know what they were doing and how things were going, because you get a lot of that in there. And the judges will say, I really want to, but I can't give you legal advice. I think you need to talk to an attorney or the court facilitator. Okay? Add or triple LT.
Yes. So my own pamphlet would be considered advertising, and I'm sure that the court would not, just stick it out there for people. I mean, just like they wouldn't allow any attorney to do that.
You could go for an attorney, a triple LT, or a court facilitator.
And I think that's where the bench card is coming in. I don't think that a lot of judges are purposely excluding triple LTs. I think that they themselves are a little confused on what our scope is and what we can do, and they're curious about it, and they're curious they want to learn about it. And I think the more it gains traction, the more you're going to see that. And my sense also is just with people being aware of it, my sense is there's been a recent uptick. Have you noticed that in people?
I've had a lot of business
that they are hearing about it, and they're calling and they're asking questions, and they're hearing from friends, or they're hearing, they're seeing us on. I get a lot of calls just from the WSBA website where they list triple LTs. So it's getting out there. It was kind of a slower trickle, I think, to begin with, but it seems to me like people are becoming more familiar with them now.
Is it something that the local governments, city governments, whatever, legally is there a weird gray line where you can't like go talk to someone and say, how can I have 20 brochure, flyer thingies sitting in the courthouse? Like where they have those things to go see whales or whatever the heck. I mean, those are the kind of things that you gotta have out that people are, because
I think every city has its own parameters, but there are also trade organizations. Every city has the
welcome
commercial, their commercial, where all their small businesses.
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce. That would be a good place.
So all of you with your creative ideas, we need you.
I know, you do. You need a marketing person, like crazy. I need a popular politics. No problem.
Yeah.
Serious. They do. They need a serious marketing. I'm all over it.
Yeah, another thing.
It's hard. You're marketing yourself, but you're trying to market this entire profession too.
Right. Yeah. So, does the Triple LT board have that? A marketing department?
Well, something else that we're actually working on is, and I can't speak to exactly what the limitations might be for government offices and things like that, but we're actually working on like public rack cards that are advertising, no specific triple LTs, because our association can't do that, but advertising just triple LTs in general, so that people know that they're out there as a resource. So our communications department is working on getting those together, and then we're hoping to start distributing them in like public libraries, legal clinics, places like that, just to get some more advertising out there.
Court, because it's not pointing to any specific.
Right, it's not a direct referral to anyone. It's really more just saying
like in
triple
buses
LTs exist.
You have to be where the people are, and the people are suffering. I'm telling you, we're not hanging out at the courthouse. They're scared of their britches, and they're in their house. Or maybe if they're lucky, they're like here, where we go to the bathroom, and every door has a domestic violence referral thingy. I mean, it has to be like in people's face as much as possible. Like a car salesman if you need to. Because this, I mean, seriously, again, the point is it's a cost less than $15K, right? So I could go be a lawyer for $150K in debt or $15K. I mean, that's.
Are you talking about advertising the program itself?
Everything. I mean, it all is the lifeblood. It all feeds off the same tree. So, I mean, it took me 6 months of digging to find out really good stuff, to even figure out that I needed to come here. And it was still kind of murky how it's written on the WSBA website. They have improved, they have done a lot. But I mean, seriously, I researched on my own where all the 41 triple LTs were, because there wasn't a list on the website yet. And I wanted to know where they were and why is there only that many since it's been this many. I mean, like, to me, this is crazy. There should be hundreds. I don't understand.
We would think that it is going to be proximity close to where the programs are offered, because who wants to drive from Longview?
Me.
There's
3 or 4 more of us. I mean, if there's a driven person in the community, that's, I mean.
And one of the things that the board aspires to do is license legal technicians and keep them in their own communities.
Exactly. Right, exactly. Again, with, like some sort of motivation, which is where the scholarship comes into my head, something that would draw them. Because they do that with the teachers. Like, the LCC just got the bachelor's there now so that they can do their teaching.
Yeah, especially like you said, if you find out that's the one thing you're trying to better yourself and do something because you can't afford to be an attorney, and then they come back and say, oh, by the way, you got to pay it all out of pocket. There's no scholarship, you can't use the financial aid.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to go, that's why I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm aiming to get my associates in paralegal studies. I'm just curious about this, but so you're saying that as someone who's going through the associates program, if I were to be interested in doing this LLT, when I get to the part where I'm doing family, like the practice focus, I have to go to a different school and pay for it out of pocket? Okay. Thank you.
Although it is a different school, but everything is online.
Yeah, and it's very reasonably priced. So again, if you know you're gonna do this, start a savings account, start a match
I
savings.
think it was $12.50 when
So
I
many
did
of
it
them.
a quarter, yeah, and so you.
Sure, you can match it 50 cents to 50 cents.
So, I mean, I did it. I mean, I got a 4K scholarship.
For a quarter, and they're 3/4.
People don't go for them, so they have the money sitting.
Right.
They want people to go for those kind of things. Plus, if you're a minority, plus if you're a woman, plus if you have Native American, you know, there's ways
So you could
around
find
it.
a scholarship for continuing education that you could use to pay the triple LT program?
Yeah, it's a school, so it's a school that.
If I'm not getting a Washington loan, or not loan, but scholarship, and I'm not using a Pell Grant, but my employer says I'll give you money, or
Like tuition assistance.
ABC's Leaf likes my leafy shoes and gives me a $500 scholarship for school, I could use that too.
Yeah,
If the school will accept it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a credible scholarship association, you know, usually they go through the foundation of the school anyway, because that person has to like vet the person sending the scholarship, you know. So, because of the financial aid and all the years, I worked in financial aid for 6 months. There's way more involved. That like was the legal, the financial version of prepping me for this stuff, because it's like 17 places you have to look for that one piece of information, make sure it's the right file with the right thing is with the, you know. So in my head, I see, I think that's where I'm coming from too, is I saw such a need. Cowitz alone has like 0% domestic sexual violence representation. They've got 400 and something people that need to be seen, and they've got a 10-day house. So these are things that need to, you know, and I know that there's, again, at least one person in every county in Washington that has that drive. We just don't know how to, you know. So I guess that's one of my. I'd like to do that kind of marketing and bridge it, but I don't want to step on anybody's toes, so I don't know how to do that. I guess.
Market yourself.
Well, I will market myself.
Rachel,
The first 5 weeks is
back there.
I'll go out there.
Sorry.
No.
The 3,000 hours of choosing to do this, you can use a combination of before and after, correct?
Yes, so you have 3 years before the practice area exam that you pass. So you have 3 years before that and 40 months after.
So you have about 6 years to get your,
Yes.
if you just.
See, and that's another crazy thing. That's like, I thought you had to do it all like at the same time you were doing the thing. I was like, I'm supposed to go to this full time and then do something else in that place in 1 year.
And you're gonna want the practice area, you know, you're gonna want those hours, you're gonna want to be working, you know.
Yeah.
working-
For me right now, I'm just trying to do site, like, so I'm up here twice a week, and then I'm down there, like, do it down there, and do it up here. So, I need flexibility, and so
Do you have a volunteer legal services?
they have a college legal aid, yeah.
So Rachel, I have a quick question. So just logistically, when students are done with the courses at TCC, are you the person that accepts transcripts? And you're the one who reviews?
My team does, so it's not just me, but you can certainly reach out to me and I'll most likely be the person answering your questions.
Okay. And then the practice area course, I know 1 year before they started it in a winter quarter instead of the fall. Is it going to be back in the fall, the next coming year for 2020?
So this next cohort, so the group of students that's approved but currently waiting to start the classes, they are looking at having the classes start in winter quarter.
Okay.
Although that needs to be, finalized in terms of the exact schedule and start dates, but we're anticipated to have them start in the winter quarter.
Okay. And when's the application for the practice area open?
So typically, like for the next cohort, typically we open it in late summer.
Okay.
Because there's usually the intention to start the classes in the fall quarter. So we open the application late summer and we usually accept them through September for people to start in the fall.
Yeah, that doesn't actually happen in the winter.
This next series is anticipated to start in the winter.
Good question.
Yeah.
For the practice area education is applying to the UW Law School. I know it says distance learning. Does that make it any different, or is it just like applying to a college and you guys only accept a certain amount of people? Or is it more of like, oh, you took all the classes, you met all the requirements, now you can go online and take the course? Or is it kind of like a college that you only accept 50 people? Like it's more rigorous?
So far we haven't had an issue with maxing out the amount of people enrolling in classes. So as of right now, we're pretty much accepting anyone that's qualified. If you're qualified, you're more than likely going to be able to enroll.
Do you guys work with any LLTs that have had to go through the school, not have the experience like you guys have?
Yeah.
You know,
Most
how's
of
that
the women
differ
that
from
I
them?
work
Do
with-
they like, are they more stressed about certain areas than others, or like?
I think, I think it's just one of those things where there are a couple right ways to get there. Both of the women that I work with went through the schooling area, and did that route. And, I think there's strengths and weaknesses to both, and it's just a matter of figuring out where you're strong and what you need to build on and focusing on that.
I want to be mindful of time, but we've got about 5 more minutes, so if anyone has any.
Do you do ADR, alternative dispute resolution, or you prefer a plan to an ADR fund? Like mediation and arbitration?
I don't do it, and I believe there are legal technicians who call themselves mediators or ADR, who have gone through training for that. But that's not part of the license. That's a separate thing. But yeah, I do. I mean, I work with several mediators and will refer to them.
And is your question, like, do we ourselves do it, or do we help our clients through the ADR process?
Do you do it
Oh,
as
okay.
well alongside these, or like she said, it's separate certification?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To fund.
Yeah, I don't either, but there are LLTs that do both.
So I just had one more quick thing to add. So here's my contact information. If you want to reach out with any questions, you can reach us by email or phone. And a point of clarification on the family law application process. So if I didn't make this clear enough, I apologize, but our office actually acts as the admissions office for the family law applications. So students apply directly with us, and then my team does transcript review and review of your application to determine if we can approve you to enroll.
Right.
Currently, that's where the classes have been offered. Did you have one quick question?
Yeah, sorry, on that education part. So before you can do the family law, do you have to have the associate's degree completed in order to enroll? Or do you need the 4 classes and you can still be working on your electives?
That's a great question. I don't know if I've encountered someone that didn't already have their associates when they applied. But that is something I can look into, and I can contact you if you want to give me your email address.
I'm Sarah.
Okay.
I have cards and brochures if anybody would like to take them. I'm always happy to answer questions about the program or the profession.
And I don't have cards. You can find me on the WSBA website. And I would say the LLTs as a whole are super supportive in answering questions. So, everybody's information is on there, and reach out to people.
I'm actually really just curious. So, do you guys have any people who got their associates this way, or started to, paralegal studies, then did that, and then did this. From like basically what you are talking to us about, when a lot of us are associates, students here in paralegal studies. Because it seems, she just said that she's never had an applicant that didn't have their associates already. So this is designed to where you only take part of the associate's degree program. Don't have one yet. Apply to. That's what you guys are actually. I'm really glad you're looking into that because that's actually what most of us are doing. Like, or
I think that the
people that would be interested in the program.
Yeah, it
Don't
just
have an associate's degree.
Just because I personally haven't encountered that doesn't mean that it's never happened.
And that's why I'm asking them. Do you think that's
right?
I just included you in it because it has to do with what you said.
Yeah, so that's something that I'm going to have to look at the court rule just to see exactly what's specified there.
Do you know anyone? It started from.
I don't know.
Not that, I mean,
it didn't seem like it was really
I know people that have went that route, but they actually have waivers.
Thank you, lady.
You know, so it's like they've
Thank
been
you.
associates a long time.
Okay, so this was
And then-
getting people from the get-go would be something new, probably. Would be like a new thing that didn't happen yet. People's just starting from the beginning. They don't already have a degree that they're adding to with.
Well, and actually I actually do know one LLT that did do that, and what she ended up having to just go back and take a couple of classes because what she had under her associates for paralegal studies, she had a lot of the core requirements, so she had to go back and take, I think, 2 or 3 classes to get the rest of the course.
Thank you so much for coming by and answering our questions too, by the way.
Yeah.
So appreciate it. Thank you.
Find it.